Today I'm joined by Michael Hunter of Uncommon Teams. Michael, thank you so much for being here today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Karen. Thank you for having me here.
It's my pleasure. Michael, let's dive into it. Can you share a little bit about your background and how you got started into the coaching space?
Well, you could say, Karen, that this is what I've always done, and I just didn't always realize what I was doing. My careers have three phases. I started out debugging code, and at some point along the way, I realized every technical problem that I'm running into is really a people problem. So then moved into doing more and more debugging people. And at some point, I realized, what I'm doing here is really inflicting help rather than offering it like I'd like to. And so then I switched over to helping people debug themselves. And that's one way to describe what I do now.
So, when you say debugging, what does that look like when you work with somebody?
In my career has all been in tech. And when we are developing software, writing a bunch of code to tell a computer the thing to do, one of the tools we use to help understand what's going on when the computer does differently than what we expected is a debugger, which gives us ways to look at all the data that the computer is using, to watch it execute the lines of code, the instructions that we give it, and how that mutates and adjusts and modifies the data that we use. And always what happens when the computer does something different than what we meant it to do is somewhere in our instructions or in the data that's coming in isn't what we expected. So we had a logic error, and so we thought we were telling the computer to go left, but we actually told it to go right, for example. Metaphorically, or the data is coming in a different format or a different range, or something about it is different than we expected. A famous example of this is the Mars rover that crashed on impact instead of landing safely because part of the team was working in imperials, part of the team was working in metric, and the interface didn't know that these numbers didn't match up. These mistakes are really easy to do. And debuggers help us understand what's going on. And the same is true with people. It would be great if I could crack open your skull, look inside your brain, and see all the details of what's going on. Because anytime that you have an interaction that goes differently than you expected, or you're not making a progress on a project that you want to make, there's something in that program that's going on inside your brain that isn't doing what you expected. And since we can't just crack it open and inspect the lines of code and the data to see exactly what's going on, we have to go at this in different ways. So we can ask questions like, well, who or what is telling you that moving forward on this project is the right thing to do? And who or what is causing you to not take action on that task that would move you forward? What was going on for you when you had that interaction that did not go the way you wanted it to? What did you expect them to say in reaction to what you said? What did you mean to say and what actually came out of your mouth, and what do you suppose they actually heard? There are many, many things that we can do to understand bits and pieces of that, and then to rewrite our internal code so that we can bypass or eliminate these mistakes, that errant logic, the rules that we developed oftentimes when we were teeny tiny on what makes us safe, what the right way is to move through the world, that maybe don't serve us anymore.
I love that. So, it sounds to me like your debuggers is a series of questions to bring up reflection. I guess instead of moving on autopilot, it gives the person a chance to understand at a deeper level and provide clarity into why they're doing what they're doing, what might be driving their actions or inactions, if the case may be. Is that correct? Is that sort of the model that you're using?
Yes, it's a lot of questions and reflection in building up for ourselves our understanding of who are we? How do we work best? What are the resources that replenish me? How do I know when they are running low? What can I do when I'm not able to replenish them in the way or the time frame that is best for me to do? What is the puzzle that perpetually pulls me forward, pushes me forward, that I'm always trying to answer, and that really is at the root of everything that I do? Questions like this help us understand how we fit in the world, the impact we want to have, how we might be clashing with what other people need, who they are, and how to find ways to meet in a way that works for each of us, not necessarily in the middle. And it helps us both learn and grow and become more the people, the leader, the team, the company, have the impact that we want to have.
Was there a particular experience or moment that sort of gave you this epiphany, this aha moment that said, no, this is a people problem, and that what has led you into the coaching space?
There was a there were a collection of moments. A few that come to mind are my manager telling me, Michael, you're doing everything that I want you to do. You're having exactly the impact I want you to have. And I don't know how to show the value of that. So what I need you to do is do this other thing that I know you don't want to do and isn't how you work best. And other people are going to do it much better, but I know how to show the value of that. Another was uh, several instances where I needed to have a conversation with someone. And instead of having that, I went and did something else and was miserable in that other role. And by the way, all the things that were coming up that I needed to have that conversation with the first person came up even more again. Uh, so those are a couple that come up right now. With each of these, even ones that it was, I don't know how to make this stupid code work, or I can't figure out what's going on, why this bug is happening. I realized they weren't a problem with my technical skills, or they were all a problem with my understanding of how to bring my best self into play and how to connect that with other people.
So you've drawn a lot on your own personal experiences in your interactions with various colleagues and managers that really helped shed a light onto your new path forward.
Pretty much everything that I've done has always been blundering through myself and finding my way through. And then as I find ways to my way through that, then discovering how that can help other people have an easier way through their own journeys.
So if we fast forward to today, what does your business look like now, and where are you focusing your energy?
So I focus primarily on leaders in tech, which may be the engineers and heads of engineering and everyone in between that are actually building the product. And it may be the other leaders in that company, heads of people, marketing, sales, and other people throughout the organization. I focus on tech, partly because that's where all my background is. So I know all the words to say to make sense to you, and I understand the words that you're saying back to me. And I understand the problems you're experiencing, the situations you're in, because I've been in all of them. And I also focus on tech because tech is creating the world that we're living in and the world that we're moving into. And I want that world to be happy, joyful, connected. So the more I can help the people creating that tech that's creating that world to be happy, joyful, and connected, then the more that world is going to be what I'd like it to be.
So every business has a few areas that hum along really well and others that are a little stickier and messier. What's working really well for you in your business right now?
Bringing people into the stories that I tell and helping them take that into their own stories. I use story in pretty much everything I do. In my book that's coming out, one of the first parts of every chapter is a short vignette that introduces you to the problem the chapter is about, to the solution that I'll introduce, sometimes in all the gory detail of how you do the thing I'm about to help you do. And other times it glosses over all those details and it's more about here's what's possible. Because that helps you prepare yourself for what the change you're about to go through can be, what it's likely to be. One thing that I am struggling with right now is with that initial connection of when I talk with people in tech, especially, they're used to the people coming to them with solutions to their problems are here is a new tool that is going to make this part of your life super easy, or here are the 10 steps to make every leader amazing. What I'm coming in is saying we can absolutely solve all the problems that you're having. It might not even take a lot of time. It is going to take some introspection, and all this squishy people stuff isn't comfortable for people in general, and especially people in tech to get into. I can't tell you how many people I've talked with who said, Michael, the reason I'm in software is so I don't have to deal with emotions. And I really would rather not deal with people either. And here I am saying, this is everything that we need to do to solve the reason that you aren't able to ship your product on time or create the product that your vision has in your head into reality, or keep people on your team who keep leaving even though you have all these amazing benefits, or whatever your problem is.
Yeah, I can relate. I have a tech background, and I am definitely of, or have been of that mindset. So yes, very very relatable. How has your definition of leadership changed over the years, and if so, how?
I didn't understand what a leader was for a long time. I understood what a manager was. I understood what the CEO and the other roles in a company did. I didn't understand what made them a leader. Another thing that I didn't understand for a long time was that everyone, before we can lead anyone else, we have to lead ourselves. And even if we don't believe we're leading anyone else, we absolutely are. Whether you are the newest person on the team, just out of college, or a fresh intern who doesn't know how any of this works yet, or you've been in here for 500 years, you've done 50 different startups, sold them all off for lots of money and are super successful. And you've done all of this just yourself as a solopreneur. There are still people looking up to you and using you for guidance in how they approach their work and their life. All three of these can be super scary. What is it? What do I think a leader is? What if that's not what anyone else thinks a leader is? Why are they following me? I don't know what I'm doing. I know all the ways that I'm messing up. They should not be following me. I don't want that responsibility. Everything that I've seen leaders of other people is being a taskmaster, or being a happy golden retriever cheerleader, or something else that's not who I am. What do you mean I have to do that for myself? And it's not any of those things. It's the uncommon leader understands who you are right now and who you've always been is perfect. Who you are becoming is good enough. And messing up is part of why you're such a good leader. It's because you're not trying to be the straight jacket. This is the right way to do it. And you're giving yourself the freedom to explore, experiment, discover what happens, realize how important differences between expectations and actual actual outcomes can be, and that this is all where the real juice in life and work, and what the real successful leaders and companies are leaning into big time, is all of this messiness And the only reason it looks like there's a straight, clear, super easy line is because you are looking at that from outside and not seeing any of the stuff that's going on inside.
I love that. Yeah. So leadership is really my takeaway and my understanding from what you're saying is leadership is real, it's authentic, it's messy. That's okay, right? It's real connection. And it's just meeting people where they are, understanding that where they are is good enough and helping them along the way. And yeah, it's messy. There's not a one size fits all. And it's just being adaptable and flexible, and measure of authenticity is where that connection happens. Would you agree?
Yes, authentic with ourselves first. If we think we are 7 feet tall and we're really 2 feet tall, there's a disconnect that we have to deal with, or vice versa. And then authentic with how we show up with every other person and letting them show up in what's authentic for them right now. And then encouraging them to fill out their full authenticity wherever we sense that may not be quite there. Realizing that our experience of them is just our experience, and we don't actually know what their experience is.
Yeah, I think that's a really key point is understanding that their experience is different than what we see it as, and to allow for that. I'd like to shift gears a little bit. Looking back, what's one piece of advice you wish you could give yourself as a younger leader?
You're doing it all fine. Don't sweat it. Was very self-conscious. I was certain that I was under intense scrutiny, that I had to be perfect so I could avoid all the dire outcomes that I knew would come if I wasn't. I understand much more how much that's not the case now.
Yeah, so true. I think that's the case for a lot of people, is this pursuit of perfection, whatever that means, and everything that comes around that is challenging. Michael, what's one of your biggest wins or proudest moments?
Proudest moments are always around I'm able to help someone I'm working with understand something that they've been struggling with. As small as all I need to do is wake up 5 minutes later and then the whole day goes better. Or as big as, oh my gosh, this company I've been building for 35 years is completely opposite from what I want to be doing. I'm going to sell this to someone else and go start something else that is much more aligned with where I am now.
Yeah, those are important to see people have those realizations and possibly an about face to what they're, doing something different to what they were doing in the past. I can imagine that would be really, really empowering too for you to see that and to know that you've made that difference. When you think about the future for yourself and your business, what does success look like?
I would love to be able to work with every person in the universe one-on-one and help them through their journey. I can't do that. Success means for me is really, at the end of the day, looking back, and which, Karen, is always going to be the case. Because it doesn't matter if I was on 25 sales calls and bombed everyone, and now I have 25 companies that will never talk to me again. Or if I was on 5 different coaching calls and they all had amazing insights that leapfrogged them forward late years. And when we look for success outside of anything other than our own satisfaction with ourselves, then we're putting our success on someone else. And we have no control over what anyone else does. It's hard enough keeping control over ourselves. And I'm having trouble saying this because control isn't the right word. It's hard enough being okay with how we're doing and helping guide that in the right direction than trying to also do this with anyone else. So when I am happiest is always when I remember that when a wise mentor once told me when I was stressing over some software problem that I couldn't figure out, told me, Michael, it's just zeros and ones. It's not a big deal. Referencing that all of computer code at the root is in binary code, and so it's all zeros and ones. And I remember that all the time. Michael, it's just a day. It's just a moment. It's just a conversation. It's just a life. It's not a big deal. We get many, many more of each of these things.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. Realize that it's not one and done. You only have one shot at anything, whether it's a conversation, a sales call, an interaction. There are other opportunities down the road, and not to fixate on the one, and maybe to open up the horizon and look to the many.
There's always a next step we can take that will move us a little closer to where we want to be.
Michael, you've shared so much insight today. How do you see that shaping what's next for you?
In some ways, I'm very clear on what's next. A book coming out, there'll be more books after that. I have a podcast that I'll continue releasing. Have many meetings scheduled with prospective clients coming up, conversations with friends and family, and at the same time, I have no idea what's coming next. I don't know if anyone's going to read my book. I don't know if everyone tomorrow that subscribes to my podcast will just unsubscribe. I don't know if the internet's going to disappear tomorrow and everything that I do virtually, I have to figure out how to do in person.
So all you can do is what you're doing today, just putting forth the effort, leaving the results to take care of themselves and not worry about it.
What did we learn from doing that? And how does that inform what we do next?
Before we wrap up, I'd love to leave our listeners with one takeaway. If you could give one piece of advice to leaders navigating change today, what would that be?
Change is a process. There are many models of how we experience change. I use one that I like a lot, and it works for the people that I work with. Happy to talk with you about that and help you understand your experience through that model, that frame. More fundamentally, though, is change is a process. You have a process that is consistent across all the changes you've ever experienced and will experience, even as it adjusts to the specifics of this particular change. What your process is doesn't matter. Knowing that you have a process helps you move through it because you know it is a process. Step A, step B, step C, step D, whatever yours is. So don't sweat it. You're going to get through. It's not that you have to know you're on step 3 now, and so the next thing to do is step 4. And the way for you to get from step 3 to step 4 is to jump up and down and turn a circle and a somersault and then go play with your dog. What matters is, again, going back to what feels right to do right now. That's how you get through this change. That's how you get through all the changes that you're experiencing right now simultaneously. That's how you have the impact on yourself, on your teams, on your colleagues, on your community, on your family, on social group, everyone else that you want to influence, to impact, to help in your way. This is how you do it.
I love that. Michael, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. Where can listeners connect with you online?
I'm on YouTube at Uncommon Leadership Podcast, on LinkedIn at Uncommon Teams, and you can go to uncommonteams.com, subscribe to my newsletter, and set up time to talk more with me about whatever you'd like to chat about.
Perfect. We'll have those links in the show notes. And Michael, again, thank you so much for joining me on the Leadership Lab today. I really enjoyed our conversation.
I did as well. Thank you for having me on, Karen.
Thank you for spending your time with me today on the Leadership Lab podcast. My hope is that this conversation sparked a new perspective or reinforced something you already knew. Until next time, keep leading with curiosity and intention.